Welcome back, dear viewers. Now it's time for our daily press review, and we are joined here in the studio with Mr. Mohamed El Ansary, his freelance translator and researcher. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we start off from Al Yom 7 newspaper, and we read the following headline. President Fattah al-Sisi meets with commanders of the armed forces and police. President Fattah al-Sisi held a meeting on Monday with a number of commanders of the Supreme Council of the Armed Forces and the Supreme Council of Police. The meeting was attended by Minister of Defense First Lieutenant General Sidqi Subhi and Minister of Interior General Magdi Abdel Ghaffar. The meeting came in the framework of regular meetings held by the President with the commanders of the armed forces and police to discuss developments in the security situation across Egypt. So, sir, first let's focus on the significance of this meeting and how do you evaluate the government efforts to combat terrorism?
Okay, even though this is a periodical meeting,
Yes.
but it is very crucial at this point of time
Yes.
because there has to be a coordination between the armed forces and the
Yes.
Ministry of Interior. We see this coordination very clear in Sinai and within the context of the efforts to combat terrorism. But it also has to be touched and seen vividly inside in the rest of the country.
Yes.
Because the presence of the state and the firm application of the law in face of the terrorist attempts is a very important point. So the coordination is ongoing, and this meeting particularly was very important because it also included in both the army and the police.
Yes. And we move to Nile News, and we read the following headline. President Sisi receives the national football team. President Fattah Sisi received on Monday the national football team upon arrival at Cairo International Airport after they finished in the second place in the Africa Cup of Nations Championship in Gabon. The president thanked the national team and praised their performance and expressed his great appreciation for their achievement in the championship. So, sir, let's first focus on the president's keenness to receive by himself the Egyptian national team and the message behind this.
Of course, the overall reaction
Yes.
to the participation of the national team in the African championship was very good and very appreciated, because people, Egyptians in general, they valued that the national team exerted as much effort as it could.
Yes.
President Sisi epitomizes and represents this general view. In fact, the national team did a very
Good job, yes.
very strong effort, and they played with very important African teams that are, you know, the football is developing a lot in Africa.
Yes.
And African teams now are not the same as African teams 10 years ago, and they are constantly developing. Many players playing in international clubs. So our national team job was difficult.
Yes.
But it's very good that we achieved the second place, and as many said that we are preparing now for the World Cup. President Sisi was very keen in that respect to support, initially a moral support,
Yes.
to the players of the national team.
And moving to Al Shuru newspaper, and we read Prime Minister heads Financial Entanglement Resolution Committee meeting. Prime Minister Sharif Ismail headed on Monday the Financial Entanglement Resolution Committee to discuss a number of financial issues. The meeting reviewed a report on existing debt at the Finance Ministry to the Insurance and Pensions Fund. During the meeting, it was agreed to sign a protocol between the Finance Ministry and the Social Insurance Authority to schedule the debt. So, what is the importance of the new pensions and insurance law?
It's very important. Financial entanglement is a very important term in
Yes.
economic theory. And we know that our public debt
Yes.
is skyrocketing, because at some estimates it as reaching actually 100% of the GDP of the
Yes.
GDP,
Yes.
the gross domestic product, and this is a very high rate. So the financial entanglement step, entanglement step comes in a very timing, in a very good time, to try and administratively separate the overlapping
Yes.
structures of the Egyptian economy and the Egyptian state. And this will also allow for definitely and hopefully for higher pensions in the future.
Yes. And moving to Al-Yom Al-Sab'a, we read the following headline. Minister of International Cooperation discusses the UN new strategic framework in Egypt. Minister of International Cooperation, Dr. Sahar Nasr, chaired the first consultative meeting for national authorities to discuss the UN new framework in Egypt. The meeting was attended by UN Resident Coordinator in Cairo, Richard Dictus, as well as representatives from 22 national authorities and ministries, including ministries of Foreign Affairs, Justice, Planning, Local Development, Housing, Education and Agriculture, as well as the National Council for Childhood and Motherhood and the Social Fund for Development. So, sir, what is the significance of the partnership with the UN?
Yeah, it's very significant. First, I would like to speak about Dr. Sahar Nasr.
Yes.
She's very active and very well informed about the Egyptian scene and its relation to the regional and international context.
Yes.
We have seen an article by her, a very important article that was published in the Financial Times about 2 months ago about chartering the road of the Egyptian economy. So she is the right person to meet with the UN representative and discuss a strategy for the year from 2018
Yes.
to 2022. Definitely, as we see from the news, there is a very strong emphasis by both sides, the Egyptian side and the UN, on the infrastructure and on the socio-economic dimension.
Yes.
And especially for the Upper Egypt area, which is the most impoverished area in Egypt.
Yes.
So this is the main two pillars of the strategy of the UN, I think, for the period which is defined, 2018 to 2022. Infrastructure, including housing, water supply, and many other infrastructure achievements, and also the socio-economic poverty alleviation efforts.
Yes. And moving to Al-Wafd, and we read Syrian President extends decree to pardon armed men. Syrian official media said on Monday that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad issued a legislative decree to extend the duration of the special decree to pardon armed men if they surrender themselves and their arms to authorities. Meanwhile, Syrian troops and allied forces chipped away at territory held by Daesh terrorists on several fronts across the country. So let's first focus on the decree by Syrian President Bashar al-Assad to pardon armed men. And what's your take on this?
Of course, it's a very important step, and very appreciated step,
Yes.
but it comes a little bit late. But it is very positive.
Yes.
Of course, the decree excludes those who have verdicts against them and those who have lawsuits against them,
Yes.
which is understandable. But it also reflects that the battlefront in Syria, there is something going on. It seems that Syrian opposition figures are gaining more and more ground in various areas in Syria. I'm not talking about the terrorist groups, I'm talking about more of civil factions who also carry arms. But back to the decree itself, it's very positive. It could be a step if there is any attempt in the future to forge Syrian reconciliation. Also among the articles of the decree is that anyone who is holding a Syrian army officer or soldier as captive,
Yes.
By giving him by returning him
Yes.
to the Syrian army, he's going to get the pardon.
Yes.
So it's a very important step.
Yeah. Moving to اليوم السابع newspaper, and we read with Trump travel ban still blocked, travelers head to the United States. After U.S. appeals court refused to restore U.S. President Donald Trump's controversial immigration order, travelers who had been banned from entering the U.S. trickled in as the White House vowed to prevail in the high-stakes legal battle. Travelers from the targeted countries with valid visas began arriving on American soil. Earlier, Trump issued a ban on all refugees and travelers from Syria, Iraq, Libya, Yemen, Sudan, Somalia, and Iran. So what are the repercussions of this decision by the U.S. appeals court?
It's a very positive sign. It still shows that the American democracy is viable and
Yes.
very agile.
Yes.
Now we see a number of civil society groups in the
Yes.
United States who are voicing criticism against Trump. But not only that, but also we see elements of his own administration. We know that he had to replace the Attorney General.
Yes.
All these developments are interrelated, and if they don't cause well, not being not being very optimistic, but if they don't cause an impeachment to the president,
Yes.
which is not desired, it's not a desired case, because an impeachment is going to cause a lot of problem inside the United States,
Yes.
and also will have repercussions on international
So
life.
do you
But
think this will
if it doesn't cause
Yes.
impeachment, it will at least, these developments, they will at least restrict the absolute the desire of the president to flout with the laws inside.
This will create a rift between President Donald Trump and the judiciary?
Not necessarily,
Yes.
because the way the system operates in the United States, it's the system of checks and balances.
Yes.
The way the system operates is a very professional way.
There's respect for the law.
Yeah. And it's not personal. They don't personalize these
Yes.
things. Yeah. It will cause it's very positive. It will make the president think twice before trying to challenge the other organs of his administration.
Yes. And moving to Al Watan newspaper, and we read the Egyptian bourse gains 1.8 billion pounds. The Egyptian bourse's indices ended Monday trading session, and a mixed note at the market's capital increased 1.8 billion pounds to reach 629.8 billion pounds. The market's main index EGX 30 was down 0.26% to close at 12,849.42 points. Meanwhile, the small and medium shares index EGX 70 was up 2.52% to close at 516.22 points. The broader index EGX 100 added 1.57% to close at 1,244.51 points. At the equal weight index EGX 50 was up 0.04% to close at 1,957.53 points. Trading volume reached 263.3 million shares exchanged, with 1.4 billion pounds through 35,600 transactions. And moving to Al Akhbar newspaper, and we read warm weather expected on Tuesday. Meteorologists predict warm weather to prevail on Tuesday on the north of the country until the north of Upper Egypt, and warmer weather on the south of Upper Egypt during daytime. But it will be very cold at night, with temperatures in Cairo are expected to be 24 and 9. Mist will affect visibility in the north of the country, the Delta, Cairo, and the Canal cities until the north of Upper Egypt. Medium and low-level clouds are expected on the north, with moderate southwestern wind across the country. Waves in the Mediterranean are expected to average between 2 and 2.5 meters high with the southeastern surface wind, while waves in the Red Sea are expected to average between 1 and 2 meters high with northeastern surface wind. And with this final news, I'd like to thank my guest for today, Mr. Mohamed El Ansary, freelance translator and researcher. Thank you for being with us, sir. And now, dear viewers, we'll go for a short break and we'll be back with the breakfast show, so stay tuned.